ways to do things in the backpack drill, right? So this week we're going to work on escaping the back, oddly enough, the next phase, right? So a couple things we have to realize. One, if you've got your back taken, you have done fucked up, Aaron. We therefore have to do some work to do. A couple things we have to start doing. One, recognizing where the choking hand is. So that's going to be the arm that comes over the shoulder. That's always going to be the first thing you want to address. And I don't want to fight him at his hands. I want to fight him at my neck. So I'm here. I'm going to grab that forearm and drag my elbow in. Because what that's going to stop him from doing is just releasing his grip and trying to choke me. Because if Austin lets go of this grip and tries to choke now, I have at least a hand in the way. It's not going to stop him from choking me, obviously, but it's going to slow down his progression, right? So Austin goes back to that grip. Next thing I have to do is I want to get on to the opposite side of this. So what I always like to do is get a thumb in to that grip here, 2-on-1, almost like I'm grabbing his arm like a baseball bat, right? Here and here. And I'm going to fall to this side. What that's going to allow me to do, I'm going to straighten this leg out, and I'm working to get my hips over this knee. So when I'm here, Austin's going to be trying to rotate me back over here. I'm going to get my feet in the mat, and I'm trying to step on his feet, do whatever I need to do, get my hips over his knee. Because the second my hips get over his knee, he has a couple different choices. None of them are great. He can either just bail out totally and lose the position. He can try to commit in backpack drill, or he can try to take mounts, all of which we're going to address. First one, we're just going to assume that he bails out. He just realizes he's in a bad spot. All we're going to do, we're going to post our foot in the mat, turn our hips in, work to start coming in and up. Realize, not the most likely of options, but one I want us to get used to just the escape with first. Because most people, when you take someone's back, they're going to want to keep it, because this isn't generally an easily given position. So, I get a hand on the choke, 2-on-1, and I'm fighting just above the lock so that I can get a good break, giving myself control of the choking. I'm going to post and get myself to the opposite side of the choke, working to get my hips out and over this knee. As soon as it gets over this knee, I'm trying to post this foot in the mat, start turning my hips in. If Austin just bails here, realizes bad things are happening, boom, perfect. You come back to either a seated guard position or out for those of us who, man, it's almost like we have drill for that. Stand up, escape, pop out, do what you need to do. Does that make sense? Questions on this? Yes, you're going to, because most people are going to be fighting with their hooks, fighting their hands, they're going to be moving. So that's why today we're going to do a lot of positional sparring, because I'm going to want you guys to escape a lot. But that's what I want you guys working on, is just that kind of initial getting the motion down. Partner, I don't want you being like backpack latched to them and trying to stop it, but I don't want you being a limp dead fish. Does that make sense? For becoming a good drill partner. So if Austin switches his grip to the other side, here, same thing. Here, here. Getting those grips in. Now, I'm also at no point being like, man, I wonder what the ceiling lights look like today. I want to keep my chin down. I always like to, kind of keep the, turtle, just a little turtley guy, right? I'm trying to keep kind of my neck turtled up here, my chin down, and I'm always trying to keep it away from this wrist here. Boom, I roll to this side, start getting my hips flat to the mat. What this is going to allow me to do, if you can, fight this hand inside. Get to that home alone defense we talk about all the time. Get to here, start working, boom, turn, boom, if I can take top, great. If I can just get out of him having my back. Realize the whole emphasis of today is there's no magic back escape where you take their back, right? Like at no point today am I going to be like, and then you invert and you're on their back. Like that, I promise you that doesn't happen today or ever with any effective jiu-jitsu motion. Realize that today, the main point of today is simple but not easy. Was any motion I just did technically hard? Right? No part of that was blew your your mind, complexity-wise, though. How hard is it to escape the back? Pretty damn hard, right? If they don't suck, escaping the back without getting your shit ripped off is hard. But you have to do the simple things right to get out safely. Does that make sense? So that is the entire, if you're looking for the title of the story today, simple but not easy. Alright? Questions on this? Let's drill her out. 1, 2, 3. 2 and 2 on each side. So 2 left, 2 right, then switch. Alright. So now, let's say we get here. Austin takes my back. He gets his backpack. I get my grips right. I get him down to the side. I get focused on this hip switch, but Austin is committed, right? He's not just going to give this up. It's a dominant position. Why just give it up? So he's going to go to do the backpack drill, right? He's going to start, as I scoop my hips out, he's going to go to sit up and retake my back. Next thing we're going to do, as he goes to retake your back, all we're going to do is pull our knees to our chest. So as he sits to retake my back, here, boom. I'm going to do that same. Bring my knees to my chest, sit my hips out to the other side. What this is going to let me do is pull his arm to the other side and start fighting at it. So we're here. Austin gets here, right? I defend. Good things are happening. I walk my hips out. I escape. He's like, oh man, I don't appreciate that. He goes to sit me up. Now, a big part of the backpack drill is reestablishing your hooks, right? That's why we did it so much. So Austin goes to reestablish those hooks. Boom. I pull my knees to my chest. Because that stops him from being able to reestablish those hooks or make it a heck of a lot harder. Now I'm able to post, get that arm over my head, and I like to turn it into people. It allows me to take time. Always face into your problem. For jiu-jitsu and life. But if I roll away from it, it makes it a lot easier for him to retake my back. Like if I turn towards the head there, so I'm always going to turn towards those legs, address the problem that's in front of me there. So I'm here. Mr. Shears gets a hold of me. Boom, I don't appreciate that, dude. Nope. Here I start walking my hips out. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to escape. Austin's like, oh no, you don't. But James is because it's counter to the counter. He goes to retake my back. I keep myself tight. I get to the side here. I start turning. As soon as I can, I use that 2-on-1 grip, whether it's in the cloth or just on the wrist here. Use that to get it off me. Now, once I'm here, that's where I'm going to fight up and try to take top of something. Realize, escape the back, asterisk, then whatever you can get. But realize goal number 1 is escape the back. Because, oddly enough, most of our series, you guys can normally tell this, right? There's an offensive submission series, a defensive week, then there's a sweep series, and there's a counter series, right? Well, generally, I also show you moves from the opposite side. So, like, in guard, I show you submissions from top and bottom. Want to know the bad thing about the back is? There's like maybe 2 half-assed submissions from the back while he's got my back. There's a bullshit wrist lock and a bullshit ankle. That's it. Neither of which you should attempt on a regular basis. Alright? I use them when I'm being mean to you guys and want to bully you. That's about it. First rule of the back is escape. Because there's nothing good going to happen. How many of you have gotten your back taken by me? How many of you are then filled with existential dread that bad things are coming?
I like to call it food.
Yeah, like nothing good happens when someone takes your back. So your first step has to be escape. Asterisk, take whatever you can at that point. Give nothing back. Questions on this escape? Carson.
When you have the 2-on-1 and you're saying like, so the grip like doesn't really matter.
So couple things here. One, I teach gi no gi. So if I was like, hey, grab this super intricate gi grip and then grab a super intricate gi grip here, what happens when you take the pajama pants off? Nothing. So generally, I'm going to teach cuff and cup here. I can do that. And guess what? If there's a gi here, grab it if you want. Like, there's nothing stopping you, right? Like, that's the nice part about, I try to teach as much of our technique. Outside of our collar chokes, almost everything I teach is deep. So when I'm here, that's why you can grab the collar, you can grab hands, you can set the grips on the gi. I, just from a natural wrestling background and a preference of no gi, I'm gonna grip no. Does that make sense? Other questions?
It's basically like escaping legs in wrestling, right?
Man, if only. It was almost exactly the same, but they can choke.
Yeah.
That's the only real difference here. It's escaping the legs. And for those of us who wrestle, clearing boots and all that, you can still do most of that same stuff. The only thing is you don't have to be worried about going to your back, and they can choke. Other questions?
So I need to like front body.
Yeah, because what'll happen is here, if I come here, I escape, right? Boom, Austin goes to retake my back with backpack drill, right? Come here, and let's just say I leave my legs out here. It's gonna be very easy for him to reestablish his hooks. Even if I start getting this arm over, he's gonna be in a much better position. Where if I can keep those knees to my chest, it limits his ability to get in. It's kind of like the armadillo defense, right? Like a little bit to a tight ball, it's really hard to attack. For those of you who come for like Corey's competition days, you guys all do we used to call it the armadillo drill, I forget what he calls it, but where you're just staying in this ball and your your partner moves you around. That's why this is a good grip, is because it teaches you that you can stay defensively sound right here. If I stay in this position right here, there's not a lot someone can do, right? My arms are in, my legs are in, my neck's in. What can you really do to me other than position? Not much. So that's why I'm beating the position, then working to escape. Other questions? Filler out. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so Mr. Steers has my back. And I say, no, I don't like that, right? Boom. I start to escape, right? Boom. I hip over, and Austin's like, hey there, I don't appreciate that. So but he's like, man, keeping the back's gonna be way difficult, right? Not fun. So he's gonna say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna take them out. So, like most good people, he's gonna start digging for this underhook, start trying to come up, bring himself into the mounted position. I like none of that. So here's what we're gonna do. Boom, he takes my back. I defend myself all the same, right? Boom, I get here. Boom. Now, as I start to see Austin start to take my back here, or start to come forward towards the mount, all we're going to do is I'm going to keep my bottom hand on his wrist. My top hand is going to start to block the knee. That way, as he comes up, I can start turning in and finding his knee. The entire goal is to end up in half guard in as best you can. Realize that's best case scenario. So we're here. Boom, I defend myself. I get here. I start moving. He starts to defend here. And I'm looking to get my hips in to where I can get that leg into half guard. It's going to work 60% of the time every time, right? Is it going to be perfect every time? No. But the goal is to be not mounted. So he may end up in side control, you may end up in kind of a quarter, three-quarter mount position, whatever it happens to be. But the entire goal is defend the choke, get yourself down. As you start to escape here, like I said, your goal is to find that half and get turned back into it. The big mistake I see a lot of people make is they'll keep their hips turned away from him even as they're trying to fight the half guard. The second I can, I'm trying to turn my hips into him. That way I can aggressively defend myself with both legs. Does that make sense? So when I'm here, boom, I defend myself, I start to walk away. A lot of people will just like keep their hips either flat or facing like the wrong direction. The earliest convenience I can, I want to get my hips turned to him and face my problems, as ugly as his mustache may be. And you don't agree with that? Look, you're not Miles Teller. There's 3 people in this world who can pull off a mustache. Miles Teller Tom Selleck, and one other dude who I don't know, right? Like, those are the people who pull off a mustache. Man, I think I can. You can. So, here. I fall to my side, hip out. Now, as soon as I realize he's going to start trying to mount here, the goal is to get his foot hooked and get that half guard as much as possible. Once we get here, turn in, defend yourself, and congrats, you're still not in a great position, but you've done what? Escape the back, Julian, and that's the whole point. Escape the back, asterisk, whatever the hell else you can get. Half guard's great. If I could tell you, hey, you can pick a position. You can start your bottom half or with him on your back. Which one would you take? Bottom half's a much better position for you, right? That's the goal. Get to a better position, then work to advance yourself. Does that make sense? It's like, hey, you're already in a hole. Building a house in a hole is not a great idea. Get yourself out of the hole, then build the house. Does that make sense? Questions on this escape?
What point is it safe to let go of that?
Second, he's committed to coming to top. So when I'm here, you're going to feel the moment where the decision is made right about here, what his reaction is going to be. That point, hey, it's going to be very hard for him to now recommit back to the choke. So at that point, okay, I can commit a little bit more of my actions towards his feet. Now, let's say he scoops this arm and starts to retake my back. Then, okay, hey, that was sneaky. I'm going to get my hands back, right? Right, like a little bit of play it by ear, but by the time you've gotten to here, he's going to have to commit to one of the three actions, right? Fuck it, abandon ship, retake the back, or take them out. You're going to have a sense of that once you get here. Once you have that sense of that, that tells you how you can respond. If he's going to retake your back, don't let go of this. Keep this. This is going to keep you safe. If he's going to abandon ship, hold it till you don't need it anymore. But if you start feeling his hips coming around, he's going to start taking that mount. Okay, now we got to address legs. Now this is the clue. Because choking me is going to be a lot harder. Man, it's almost like when you get here and you like post your foot, you like move your hips. It's weird. If only we had a warm-up drill like that, Julian. I promise we don't do anything on accident, guys. There is method to my madness. I'm not just mad. We're all a little crazy. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? One more time. I love doing it one more time just for you, though. Anyone else? Relax. Boom, I'm here. I defend myself. Because that's always the first goal. I turtle up a little bit. I get myself over here. Walk my hips over. I start to escape the hips. He starts to come up. I start to focus on addressing that leg. He comes up. I'm looking for half guard. Whatever I can do. Whether that's shin in, lockdown, just closed half, whatever you can get at that point that is better than mount is what you're looking for. Questions? 1, 2, 3. Alright, so last piece. Alright, so this next one is one of my favorite escapes because it induces panic, which is always one of my goals. I like to induce a good bit of panic in people's lives. So you have to get to the seated position. This is not one you can hit well from either side. So you want to get yourself to this position. First thing I'm going to work on is breaking this grip here, and I have to break towards the side that is going to be choking. So I'm here, he's got his grip, boom, I break, and I'm looking to push the wrist over my ankle, here. That's going to allow you to get to that home defense. Once you're here, the goal is to switch your hands, defend, and get this elbow in. So your goal is to clear both of those arms. Now, that looks pretty simple, didn't it? Realize, never going to be that easy. He's got his grips here. I'm looking to hand fight, get this hand in here. Now I'm going to re-break the other side. Boom. But the second I have both his hands cleared like I do now, right? All we're going to do is, I'm going to dig my heels into the the mat. Lift my butt up, and I'm going to scoop myself out. Keeping my arms in. Now, I'm going to scoop one more time. Now, when that happens, one of my shoulders is going to pop out. Whichever arm pops out first, that's the direction we're going. So I come here, this shoulder popped out, congrats. That means I close this foot in that. Cut into this side. Drive yourself up, and look at that. Here it's half guard, butterfly, something. Right? The scoot out escape, it's one of my favorite ones because the moment your hips scoot, they feel the loss of control and panic ensues. And that's why I like it. It's not an athlete. Boom, I'm here. I start defending myself. I get the grip break, I get my hands in, boom. Both hands are in, I get the grip break. Great. Great. Good stuff. Heels in the mat, scoop. Scoop. This side's out. Close the opposite foot to the shoulder that's out. Great. I'm out of the back. Savagery as needed past that. The major point of this, though, is getting used to one, hand fighting. I'm sneaking hands in, I'm trying to get keeping my elbows in so that he can't get underneath me. Now, I'm at home alone, right? As soon as that comes out, facing my problem set on. Like you believe. Right? Questions on this? If you leave your arms or neck hanging around, you're going to get whipped off. Not particularly well. So the difference in why it's going to be really hard for him to try me here is speed. Because the second you go to start scooting, you better keep going. Like, this isn't one of those, like, la-di-da, like, Carson, I'm going to escape the back today. Like, hey, this is like a cool thing. Gee, it'd be really cool to escape the back, right? Like, it's not a, you fucked up, we got to get out of here, you know? Now, does that mean abandon all technique and sprint out of the room? No. But the second you start to address these problems, it's a ball rolling down. It's got to get faster. Yeah, you can all build counter to counter to someone's done. Yes, you can get choked here if you hang out in the bottom of that position. Like if I'm here, let's say I get here and I scoop my hips all the way out, right? And I'm just like, man, this seems like a great place to hang out. Can Austin start doing it? Yeah. But the goal is I've cleared his arms. The second my back hits and my shoulder clear, if he can triangle me in the time it takes to hip switch, you've made a mistake before then at first. And the second mistake was probably being on the mat with someone who's that far ahead. Does that make sense? Like, this isn't one of those ones where there's going to be great escapes. Now, if while you're scooting, if I'm here and I'm just like, man, it'd be really cool to like, yeah, I leave my arm laying around the fence. But you get to that solid armadillo defense or whatever you want to call it, right? You start scooting your hips out, and the second that shoulder clears, boom, it's gone. Especially no heat, it's even faster. Does that make sense? Other questions?
It just has to be high intensity.
Sense of urgency, but you don't have to be screwed. Does that make sense? Like, it's not this, right? It's not, right? Like that's, I've never taught a move, right? But it's also not that lackadaisical pace. Once we get going on this, boom, I'm here. Once you get a sense of it, you gotta go. Does that make sense? Other questions?
Is this applicable at all when you're on your side on the back? Or do you have to work your way back up?
Can you hit it from there? Yes. Is it exponentially more difficult? Yes. So
Like if they have a body lock on you or something, you can't hit it back?
yeah. So like if he has a body lock, completely different defense will work.
Okay.
But let's assume we get to our side here. Here. If I get to here, I'm going to be more focused on this than I am here. Because this is going to be more effective than that. The reason I like this especially, a lot of guys will try to sit you up here so that they can choke and start working collars, especially. If you're in the gi, a lot of guys are going to start working collars here. And that's where I'm going to start breaking and get here. Boom. Now he's lost all hope. And you start to press things in that.
If they do have a collar, is the grip in the ring still the same?
Same thing. So if I'm here and Austin grabs a collar on me, great. I like to grab the inside of that trigger point of their thumb. It's really nice. Just adds a bit of pressure, a little bit of fuck you to everything we do.
Is that technically legal? Like, don't you have to grab 4 fingers?
So, if I'm grabbing his thumb, very illegal. Makes sense. Trigger happy rep? Maybe. Am I going to argue it every time? Absolutely. He didn't just grab the thumb, he grabbed his hand. I'm grabbing that knee part. So if you have really short, stubby, fat thumbs like mine, you see how this is real fat too? That's what I'm grabbing. I'm not grabbing your thumb. I'm grabbing this little fatty part of your palm. Because that naturally will release the hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like these reaching in here and grabbing it. Trying to get that. Grabbing that top part of the hand. Grabbing other questions. So, once I get here, the sense of urgency needs to be for that first shooting. The second you clear hand and you start going here, it's scoot, scoot, go. Like, it's not a... Yeah, it's not like, oh, hey, man, this would be, like, really cool. Like, it's a bop, bop, go. Like, you got me after it a little bit. Get the technique right as we're drilling it. By the end of the 5 minutes or so, you need to be kind of hitting it with the sense of urgency. 1, 2, 3.